Thank you. Yeah, 3 USB ports. One of them was bound to work. Hello, everyone. My name is Luke. It's great to be back up here. As Zach mentioned, today we're going to be talking about Kerbal Space Program. And like other rockety, sciencey stuff. Before we get started, can anyone name this character? Anyone? Anyone know this? Yeah, KSP. Anyone know this character's name? Jeb. Jeb Kerman, yes. So he's a little green astronaut. He's pretty excited to go to space, as you can see. His colleague Bill, on the other hand, is a little bit apprehensive, but he's doing his best. So, these are characters from the game Kerbal Space Program, or what I will refer to as KSP for a lot of this talk. Space simulation game, released in 2015. It consists of some green astronauts, as you saw. They're called Kerbals. Their home planet is called Kerbin, which is kind of their version of Earth, the green, watery planet. Their Earth, though, has 2 moons, the Mun and Minmus. And in the game, there's like 13 other celestial bodies in their little solar system. And they have like a sun. So these are places that you can take your rocket ship and orbit, and most of them you can land on and everything. So it's pretty cool, and it's actually like pretty accurate for a whimsical game in terms of physics and everything. And it's also very moddable via CCAN, which is like this third-party mod installer manager program. And the community members who are really passionate about the game and making it kind of their own. So we're going to talk about that pretty in depth in a little bit. But I mentioned it was released in 2015, but a little bit of a humble brag. I had to check Steam for this because I knew for sure, like, I was playing this before 2015. And sure enough, it was activated in 2013. By the way, does anyone know today's date? It's May 28th. Yeah, exactly 13 years later to the day. I just realized that like right before I came over here. I was like practicing my slides. I was like, holy shit, it's awesome. I got in the beta stages. So I've been in love with this game for a really long time. But didn't really get into the whole mod scene until like relatively recently. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. But just to give you kind of a sense of what this game is, usually you start out in this kind of vehicle assembly building, VAB. And this is where you build your rockets. On the left, it might be kind of hard to see, but you kind of have this like drawer of parts. And they kind of like just like snap together like Legos. You have like your cockpit and like fuel tanks, engines. You snap them together. And I think that's half the fun of the game, is just building your rockets and designing crazy stuff. This one's like a pretty, run-of-the-mill stick rocket that you might see in real life. But you can create monstrosities like this one, and everything in between, and whatever you want. Like, the sky's the limit, so to speak. So here's just kind of a visual of some of the other places you can visit in the game. Also, quick note, KSP2, there is a Kerbal Space Program 2, and it's terrible. It's a long story, but basically, like, it went to early access, and then the studio was immediately, like, dissolved. So, it's still for sale on Steam. If you're interested in getting into the game, don't get KSP2. Like, it's basically a scam. Just get the original. It's so much better. And also, there is an XKCD. I think there's multiple XKCD comics related to Kerbal Space Program. But I really like this one because it's like so accurate. You literally will learn a lot about physics and orbital mechanics from this game. Like, it's no joke. It's really cool. It's one of the reasons I love it. I promise this will matter a little bit later. Not really, but like, just a quick refresher or get you up to speed on how orbits work. If you fly straight up in a rocket, you're going to come straight down for the most part. When you're trying to get into an orbit, like I think Newton's cannon is a really good illustration of this. Like if you took a cannon and put it on the top of some really tall fictional mountain that was like above the atmosphere, and you shot the cannon, like if you shot it slowly, it would like arc and then come back to Earth, like on those red lines there. And if you shot it a little bit faster, it would still arc back to Earth, but it would make it a little bit further around and so on until you hit some like perfect speed where like you shoot the cannonball and it just kind of like keeps going around until it like comes back to where it started. That's exactly what an orbit is. So like, don't think of a rocket going straight up. Like in real life, when they're going to like the International Space Station, they don't go like straight up, even though it kind of looks like they do. They go like straight up and then they start turning and getting like horizontal velocity until they hit an orbit. So again, that'll kind of matter in a minute, and I'll explain, or I'll mention when. But like, okay, like we're at Tech Lancaster. Why are we talking about Kerbal Space Program? Like this guy's just up here talking about some game. What's the point? Well, if you've come to any of my talks before, or like especially like the one in October I did, the lightning talk I did on Microsoft Flight Simulator, I talked about like integrating with the game, and that's something that I find really fun is like taking games and then finding mods or building mods to like integrate with the game. So like, wouldn't it be really fun to automate our rockets? Like, the answer to me is yes, obviously. As a software engineer, like that's what I like to do is automate things, and especially like tying that into video gaming, I think is a lot of fun. So there is one mod that I'll mention. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but it's called mechjeb. It's kind of like cheating a little bit. But it's like, this is what it looks like. It's actually pretty complicated. It's like really, it's got a lot of features and everything, but you're using kind of this mod that's pre-built for you to automate your orbits, like launching to orbit. Because normally the game has manual controls and you kind of have to fly the rocket on your own to get into orbit. mechjeb is like, all right, like type in what altitude I want my orbit to be at and then click a button and it'll go. It's really cool, but like not the kind of thing that, you know, I'm going to be talking about today. I don't like, for this purpose, I don't think it's that interesting. There is a Kerbal operating system, or KOS. This is really cool. It's a complete programming language, like essentially like a DSL, if you've heard that term, like domain-specific language. It's a little bit esoteric, so it has a really steep learning curve, and it's entirely scoped within the game. And what I mean by that is there is a terminal like emulator in the game, like literally in the game, where you can write your programs. You can also write programs in VS Code, but the point is that that code is running inside the mod, inside the game. Like, it's all within the game. So like that has its uses. That's actually kind of where I got started with, like the automation mods. I actually think it's, one of the reasons I really like the language is, that it has, PID control systems, built into the language itself, which I think is really cool. As like a former mechanical engineer, like PIDs is, it's something I learned in college, and like I just think it's really cool. So basically, how can you steer your rocket or control your throttle based on multiple inputs and make sure it's not like oscillating or anything? That's basically what a PID would do for you. Yeah. So you can like design your PIDs to control anything. So like I won't get into too much detail on PIDs, but it stands for like proportional integral derivative control. So like these like calculus terms. No, oh no, yeah, no. This is like yeah, PID in like the control system sense. Like so industrial controls will use PIDs a lot, like robots and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, it's built into the language, which I think is really neat. But again, it's all scoped inside the game. And again, it's also kind of hard to learn, especially like when you go away from it for a couple years like I did and then try to like learn it again before you do a talk. And you're like, I don't remember this at all. So, yeah. No, it's, if I had to compare it to anything, it'd be more like an RTOS, but like within the game. It's like, like emulated RTOS kind of. Yeah. It's not like there's no command line. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And so yeah, I put the GitHub link here if you want to take a look at it. It's all open source and everything. And yeah, here's some like sample code. You probably can't read it, but it's not that important. I just wanted to throw something in here. But then there's another mod that I found more recently, and this one I think is a lot more interesting. So this is Kerbal Remote Procedure Calls, or kRPC for short. So a lot of you may have used RPCs before. It's basically you define like an API, and you can write clients for that API, but it's over a network. So the way this works is there's an RPC server that runs in a mod in the game, but that's all that's running in the game. Like if you compare it to KOS, it's just like a server, that's it. All the automation and stuff that you want to write is running outside the game. It's just communicating over RPC. It's basically just like a glorified like REST API. So yeah, you can have 2 connections per client. You would have one for kind of your traditional request response paradigm, and another one for streams for more real time. So you can imagine like what that means in the sense of the game. So like pulling out telemetry, requesting certain actions to be performed within the game. So it's like bi-directional. You can tell it to do things, and you can also just kind of like bring in data into whatever program you wrote outside of it. So you can imagine the possibilities there. You're not constrained to within the game and its resources and its weird language. This supports all sorts of different languages, whatever you are most comfortable with, because at the end of the day, it's just making network calls. Yeah. And there's a GitHub link in there too, and there's some sample code, again, not too important. This is Python, but kind of just to illustrate that, yeah, you can use whatever language you're comfortable in. There's RPC clients available for whatever language you like, most likely. So yeah, maybe that's it. No. No, that's pretty much it for the slides though, actually, because like I thought, originally I was just going to do slides, but I thought that was boring. I figured I'd come up with something that I can show you guys. So hopefully this works. This is very reliant on the network, and I'm using my phone as a hotspot because the network here, yeah. So we'll see how this goes, but so far so good. So yeah, this is what the game looks like in this rectangle here. So we're on the launch pad already. I kind of have it ready to go. But if you've played the game before, you'll notice a lot of stuff going on around the outside of the game that you've definitely never seen before. Because this is a web application that I wrote, that uses kRPC to communicate with the game. This might not be obvious, like what you're seeing in this game window here, this isn't running on my laptop. This is running on my gaming PC at home, like 5 miles away. And it's being streamed like via OBS into my browser here, into this like panel. And so like the front end is running in my browser here, but there's a whole back end that's running on a server at home. The game is running at home. So like all this like telemetry that you can see around this, like, it's all being piped in here, basically. So nothing is running locally, essentially, is what I'm trying to explain. And that's one of the things that I wanted to exploit out of kRPC. Like, how can I show off what this can do? And I thought the best way to do that was to be completely remote from where the game is running. So I'll talk about some of the telemetry and stuff, but real quick, I talked about how MechJeb has some of these like autopilot programs loaded in. You can kind of just like go. And so I thought it'd be cool to have something on the back end here that can do the same thing. So this doesn't use MechJeb at all, but it does the same thing, but it's all implemented in this web application. So the video is going to lag behind a little bit. You'll see my altitude is starting to go up, and there it goes. So the rocket is launching. So far, so good. And this is why I mentioned that like spaceships usually start to go sideways. So don't be alarmed if while I'm talking you see the rocket start to go like this, or it'll go this way really. That'll be normal. If it starts to like point down or like backwards, that will be cause for alarm. No, yeah, nothing like that. No, we're going to try and go to space today. And yeah, so I have some like camera controls in here too. Again, it's going to lag a little bit, but I'm zooming out. So yeah, you can see like the graphs and stuff. Like, I don't know about you guys. Like, I'm a sucker for graphs and like line go up, like number go up. Like, I love that kind of thing. I know this is hard to see. I'm sorry, but I can show this to anyone later who wants to take a look at it. But yeah, so while this is going, you can see it's starting to turn a little bit. And yeah, so on the left over here, we have all sorts of telemetry, basically anything you could ever care about with respect to this game. So like current altitude, like latitude and longitude, like on Earth or Kerbin or whatever. Like your velocities, the rocket's attitude. Oh, there go the solid rocket boosters. So yeah, the autopilot does that too. It like detects when the stage is out of fuel and it will stage. So that's going to keep going. Oh yeah, really important part that I almost forgot. I named this the Space Lancaster system because I don't know how many of you, like me, were like totally enthralled with Artemis 2 that happened recently. Like, I'm wearing the shirt and everything. So I modeled this rocket after that, but like the official name for that rocket is SLS, like the Space Launch System. So this is a Space Lancaster system. But yeah, we can see it going, and we can see our progress down here for our autopilot program, and it's pitching over like it should. And there's a few other autopilot programs that I implemented in here that I probably won't be able to show off, but there's one that will like, once you're in orbit around this planet, if I wanted to go to the moon, I could like open up that little dialog box and say, I want to go to the moon, and here is the altitude that I want my orbit around the moon to be, and I can click go, and it will like speed up time to make sure it's like in the right place in its orbit, and it will point the right way, and then it'll turn on the rockets and it'll go there. This also has manual control built in. So when I'm not running an autopilot program, I can like turn up the throttle, I can point the rocket wherever I want. So like these are all things that you can do in this kRPC mod. And you can do pretty much all these things in KOS 2 or as well, but you don't get like the cool graphical interface. Like you can't create this whole interface around it. So that's why I really gravitated, pun not intended, towards this mod specifically. Finally, one other thing I wanted to show you guys. For those of you who know me pretty well, you'll know that I'm into like retro hardware, retro software, that kind of thing. And something that I really wanted to do was like, okay, how can I take my Commodore 64 and like hook that up to my network and be able to control the game through that? Because like then I could kind of pretend that I'm in some like period accurate like 80s mission control room with like just like a terminal screen and yeah. So I really wanted to have that like up here with like a blanket over it and be like, surprise, like look what I did, and have some great reveal. Like it's not here. I couldn't get that working in time. But what I was able to do was in building the back end, I thought, okay, well like the way that I would do that if I had the real hardware here is have like a telnet server, like basically the same way you would use a Commodore 64 to connect to like a bulletin board system back in the day. Like you could have that, but you could just have like a constantly refreshing telnet like connection going. And you don't really need like real hardware, as cool as that would be. Like don't get me wrong, I'm really bummed that I don't have that. But you can still do that. So yeah, here's a this is a telnet client running on here. Again, the telnet client is local, the telnet server is at home, but this is like live telemetry being piped in. It has all the autopilot programs in here that you can start from the telnet. So this is like a regular ANSI 80 character wide mode. It's like the prettiest form of terminal you can look at in terms of telnet. But then there is also a 40 character wide mode that in theory would work with my Commodore 64 if I had got that going, but alas. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. And by now we should be in a stable orbit. Oh yeah, and I did have this like globe view too. So you can kind of see, it's like very abstract, but you can see like where our ship is and like the ground track and stuff. Yeah, hopefully we're in a stable orbit, but I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, questions, Tim?
Additionally, making your rocket get where it goes,
Mm-hmm.
keep your little Kerbals healthy too. You like giving too many G's or?
Oh, there's nothing in the base game that like, other than like crashing, there's no like G limit for your Kerbals. Like in terms of being in the rocket. Yeah, if they slam it into something hard enough, they'll pass away. Oh no. Actually, I'm a little bit glad you brought that up though, because in our camera controls here, we can switch to IVA mode. Oh yeah, and there we go. Now we're in the cockpit. So that's just controlling the camera in the game. Like this is built into the game. So switch to IVA, intra-vehicular activity. So yeah, now we can like look at our gauges and stuff. But yeah, no G limit. We don't have to feed them or anything. They're pretty much, they're like roaches. They're invincible, you know. Yeah.
So the PID controls, I don't know until we follow up this thing.
Okay, yeah.
It sounds like I would have applications for like controlling something in the real world physics.
Yes.
That's a complicated thing to do.
Yes.
So having that built into the game, I guess like speaks to the sophistication of the physics engine and having that.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent. So the PID controllers that were implemented in KOS, I think really all they're doing is like moving. So for example, if you wanted to control throttle on a PID, it's really just moving a slider that the human would move, but it's just knowing very precisely how far to move it, how fast to move it, where to move it to. Like that's basically what a PID is doing, like in a constant loop. So I wouldn't necessarily say that like the PID controls are a testament to the game's physics engine per se. I think it's a testament to the people who made the mod and how thoughtful they were in terms of like, this is something that real rockets for sure use. And it works like to your point, it works really well with physical systems. Because you don't jump to a certain speed instantly. You have to get there. And by the time you get there, other inputs could have changed. So like you need to be constantly adjusting on the way. So that's what PIDs are really good for. But all that to say, like, that's not to detract from like the physical realities that are built into the game. Like it is it's just as physically accurate as it needs to be without being like punishing. Like you need to know how, like the basics of orbital mechanics to be effective in the game, but like you don't need to be a rocket scientist. Good question.
So, like, forgive the question, but like, what's the goal of the game? Like, are there certain missions?
Yeah.
Like, how do you set your own goal? Like, I'm going to visit this planet and then that mission,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's a great question because I kind of like glossed over the game itself, right? So there's different modes. There's like a career mode, a science mode, I think it's called, and then like a sandbox mode. So everything I've been doing is in sandbox mode because you start out with all the parts unlocked and everything. You can just full creativity. Career mode, you start out with just a few parts, and then there's like a tech tree that you accept missions, or like contracts, and it's like one of the contracts, or like one of the first contracts will be, fly a rocket to 50,000 meters altitude. Like you don't even have to get into orbit or anything. So you design a rocket that does just that. You fulfill the contract. You get a certain amount of money to build more rockets, and you also get like science points, which you can spend to unlock nodes in a tech tree, and those nodes like give you more parts, more powerful parts. So that's kind of like the progression loop in the game is for that mode anyway. Is you fly different missions. Like eventually you get to a mission like land on the moon, and then you get a lot more science and a lot more money for doing that versus fly to 50,000 meters. So yeah, like the game has that kind of like mission kind of system. But it's still very like free form. Like you still, like it doesn't say build this spec rocket. It just says do this thing, and like however you accomplish that is up to you. So.
To follow up on that, the level of detail, I mean, it sounds like it's highly detailed.
Mm-hmm.
So like the goal would be to say like get into orbit around moon X.
Yeah.
And then fly there, and then I'm traveling at a certain speed. That speed translated into a certain orbit altitude, but you have to account for the fact that you're going to speed up as you approach the planet, as you fall into gravity. Like, you said, like the cheat code, the cheat plugin kind of does some of that for you.
Yeah.
But like, if you don't use that, then are you just like
left to
real time?
Yeah. No, that's.
Or do you try to calculate this all out in advance?
No, that's a great question. I will say, like off the bat, like there's no real calculation required. I mean, like with the exception of like you have to have enough fuel to get where you're going, and like if you care about your Kerbals to get them home, you need about as much to get there as you need to get home. But if you don't care about that, if you're trying to build a permanent base on Mars or whatever, like whatever, it's a one-way trip. So like you do have to understand a little bit about how much fuel you have in your rocket and whether or not it can get you there. That might take a little bit of like very basic math, or there are calculators online where you just plug in where you're going and it tells you exactly how much fuel you need, or delta V to be more precise. And then one other thing I wanted to mention on that point is, so I showed this globe view before. There's kind of a similar view in the game, much more detailed than this, that shows you like your trajectory, like your actual orbital trajectory. So it'll tell you if you're gonna like intercept the orbit of another planet, like that you're trying to get to ideally. And then it can also tell you like, are you gonna crash into this planet? Like if you're on an unstable orbit, are you on escape velocity? Like, are you in a stable orbit? It'll tell you all that information. And then when you're like ready to land on a planet, you point your ship backwards so that you slow down your orbit. And it will show you like in real time as you're burning your engines, like where you're gonna land roughly. So hopefully that kind of answers your question a little bit. But yeah, like you don't need to get out your slide rule or anything, or like pen and paper and like, oh my God, how much do I need to slow down by? Like there are built-in guide rails in the game to help you do that.
It needs a level of like your own effort that is still fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of up to you. Like,
it's still feasible for somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Like, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to play this game by any means. While I was preparing for this talk, quite a bit, especially because like I did use Claude a lot for this. Like Ken was talking about vibe coding earlier. Like this was very much vibe coded, so there was a lot of giving Claude a task or like telling it to fix something or whatever, and like letting that go, and then I go and do real work or whatever else, clean the house or whatever. Because some of the stuff I asked it to do was pretty demanding, to be fair. Like the autopilot programs those required a lot of iteration. Because like it understands physics, but like it doesn't really.
Doesn't?
Yeah, it doesn't, kind of. Like it kind of gets the theory, but it needed a lot of back and forth to get there. So, but yeah, a lot to answer your question. Anyone else? Cool. Well, thank you, everyone.